Leadership TV for God.
The Big Issue. Breaking down the issues that matter. The Big Issue. Breaking down the issues that matter.
Good evening, viewers. It's Tuesday evening, September 19, 2023. And of course, it's the big issue. We apologize for starting late this evening. It was due to circumstances beyond our control. My name is Bode Gbadeba, and of course, today we shall be looking at developments in the Nigerian music industry against the backdrop of recent happening. And of course, my guest joining me this evening is no other person than Mr. Abuchi Peter Ugwu, the Chief Executive Officer, Chocolate City Group, a popular musical label based in Lagos. He joined me live from Lagos. Good morning, good evening, Mr. Ugwu. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Good evening, everyone.
Thank you so much. Mr. Ugwu is the CEO of Chocolate City Group. In fact, Chocolate City Group achievement and influence on the Nigerian musical evolution has been documented by Reuters International. And one can safely say Chocolate City is the second generation music label in Nigeria. Mr. Abuchi, let's start like this. Let me get your take on the recent happening in the Nigerian music industry. How will you describe your industry as we speak?
I think that Chocolate City this year makes us 20 years in the game.
Yeah.
And from this 20 years in the game, we started from Jeremiah Gang to Emma Abaga. From Emma Abaga, then we have CK. Then we have Black Bones. We have Young John now. And in these 20 years, we've been consistent. And I must say, and I've been in this business, in this industry for about 15 years. And I would say, like, we're in a great time. Nigerian music business and the industry is in a great time in history. Because now we can see we're in that stage where artists make real money now. Like, you have like artists that are making up to 1 billion stream. So if you calculate the maths and say 1 billion times 0.02 on the dollar, calculate how much that artists have made. So I think Nigerian industry, music industry, the entertainment industry is in my own opinion, is the new oil. Where that we just need to harness it and make the best out of it.
Yeah.
But it's a good time to be alive in the industry.
Yeah, so you call it the new oil. I call it a gold mine, where young people now are struggling to be part of, to make money and to also gain fame. So tell us, what is the rudiment? You have a musical label, I want to become a member, or yes, part of your label as a signee to be singing or doing one or two things. What are the ground norm? What are the guiding principles between a signee and a record label? What are the terms of engagement, Mr. Ugwu?
So you see, a label is just not just a label. We have a whole system. A label is like an investment house. You have to think about it, because the label invests most of them resources these days to push one song. We can spend from nothing less than 20 million to 100 million just to push one song. And some labels do that. Like I have about 8 artists, and we have both back catalog. So if every artist have at least one single a year, calculate how much my budget is in the year. So for you to run an establishment like this, you have to have the manpower, you have to have the resources, you have to have the infrastructure. So labels is more than a one-man business. It's a proper structure, it's a proper investment house, it's a proper development house. Because what we do in the label, we find the talent, we develop the talent, and we help the talent earn, we help the talent make money. So that's the whole process. So that's the ecosystem. And how we look for talent, we have 2 ways to look for talent. We have the academy side, where we get younger artists, we groom them. After they get to a point, then we sign them. That's number 1. Number 2 is like, we look for artists everywhere. You can find artists online, you can find artists just going, people, even from security men, you meet somewhere, oh, I'm an artist, even from fuel attendant. Like, we signed one of the artists, which was a mechanic. I met him in the workshop. Like, that's how it works. Like, you can meet an artist anywhere, and sign, but it's just that the music business is capital intensive. So our role as a label, we look for artists, we develop them, we nurture them, and monetize the content we create.
All right, talking about your artists, I remember, let me start an example. Black Bones just won the Rap Album of the Year at the recently concluded Headies Award in the US. So when the news came out, how do you feel as a record label that one of you, got that feat?
I think it's a good thing. It was something that crowned the effort. But like the label is not a newcomer to Headies. MI owns I think MI has about 8 or one of the highest Headies. He has been on the label this year. So Blackbone just joined. And we have other people that from the label that have won. For us, it just proves we're doing something right and keep on going. And again, shout out to Headies because they just keep on pushing the barrier. So for me, I just feel like at this stage, African music is more than the music. We're pushing culture. So even just hosting the award in America, we're exporting our culture. Just exporting the culture, we're exporting the music, we're exporting even the performance, even the dress, even the food, all those things were created to the ecosystem, we're exporting it. So it's a great thing. It just shows we're doing something right and we've not lost the touch.
Oh, that's a good one there. And let me also say, you talk about academy as part of your mentorship model. I don't know, is this a general thing in the industry or just about the Chocolate City alone? Do other record labels also have academy where they mentor their artists? And how do you protect the interest of your artists? I asked that earlier. What are the grand norm? What is the relationship? How is it protected?
So let's start we have an academy, maybe have an academy. Few other labels I know, Aristocrat just started the academy. So few people have been in academy. And for us, one of the reasons why we started an academy is because most of these artists, they are not educated to know what it means to be an artist. For example, when you think about music, music has to do with intellectual rights, intellectual property. One song is divided by about 200%. 100% is master right, the other one is 100% is publishing. In publishing, you have rights for the person that produces the song, you have rights for the person that performs the song, you have rights for the person that does backup, you have neighboring rights, you have master rights, you have different rights that come to the music. So for us, like the goal for me in the academy is to be able to groom the artists so they understand what rights they own in a song. And then you understand what do you own. Who is the person that invents the song, what does he own? And because with music, these are the business that you have certain governing laws that govern the music. So if you see like a lot of artists get to a point where there's always conflict between the artist and the label, because you just get to a point where, okay, the lines are not clear. You don't know what you own. The label don't know what they own. The artist is got to a point where they want more. The label is like, no, this is not what it is. Some label haven't done proper reporting and giving them, okay, this is how much you made. No, you are owing, but this is what it is. So both ways, we've dropped the ball both ways. But the goal for me for the academy is to be able to fix these gaps, bridge the gap between the gap of knowledge between the labels and the talent. So when the talent comes, they understand what publishing is. Most talent don't know what publishing is. They don't even know, okay, what does the law says about publishing? What can I give? How long can I collect for? If I don't collect, will I lose my collecting? If in Nigeria, what does the law says? Okay, if they play my song on radio, what am I getting? Am I getting masters? Am I getting published? If iTunes play my song, is it masters? Is it published? So those are the things in the law that a lot of them don't understand, and that's why we're trying to create the academy to teach people more about that.
So they get that knowledge from your academy. So the second part of my question is now, is that model, that kind of your arrangement, is it a general thing in the industry or it's exclusive to Chocolate City?
No, few people have it. I know maybe have their own academy. We have our own academy. Few people are opening theirs. But I feel like it should be, these are things that should be taught even in law schools, because you have IP. You don't have most lawyers that understand intellectual properties. You have, because intellectual property hasn't been big in Nigeria. So people understand like property law, people understand election law, they understand few things, but like intellectual property is a big thing. Because that's sort of, if the tech world, those are the lawyers need to be able to fight for intellectual properties. So we need more of those things. We need more lawyers educated, down to even accountants, because how you calculate rights is different for publishing for this. So we need a total approach. But to answer your question directly, I think we're one of the people that have led the space over the years. We keep on doing back. And you have few academics like Godwin Tom Academy, MBA, that does an MBA program that teaches people about it more and more.
So I can tell you, yeah, a nice one. Despite your sterling performance, despite your high moments and the rest of them, this Chocolate City also at a point had its low moment. Remember, one of your artists, Brimo, at a point had a disagreement with you to the extent he has to leave your record label. So for the record, how did you get to that stage with Brimo?
Let me say, for me personally, me and Brimo are still we're still
on a personal level.
But on a personal level, but I feel like in every business there's always an up and down. And I feel like at that time I was not the one in charge. I was running the business at that time. But regardless of what it is, I think it's been sorted out. And I feel like no matter who you are in business, there's always going to be an up and down. There's going to be where you people don't agree. But I feel like that's why there's a contract. And even the contract says, if there's a problem, maybe we'll go to court of arbitration or we go there. And just with what is happening, there's always going to be a problem. But at the end of the day, it's how we come back from the problem. Even like at the end of the day, best friends keep quarreling, husband and wife quarrel, business partners keep quarrel. But it's how do we resolve that? And I feel like fundamentally we understand that moving forward, as a company, as an ethos of doing business, we're partners with the artists. Whoever the artist is, we're the partners. It's not a boss-servant relationship, no. We're partners. We're creating this body of work that we both monetize, because we bring in the money, but the artists bring in the talent. So we are both of us, we're all partners, so we come back together and figure it out. So we had our moments, we had our up and down, but I think we're in a better place. I will keep on learning from whatever has transpired on how we can get better and how we can serve the next generation better. Because our 20 years, we're here to stay. I will keep on going stronger.
Yeah, I think you can also be referred to as one of the flagship in the music industry. Now, you said the issue with Brimo is being addressed. Yes, he has left, but I want to get something clear. After departing Chocolate City, do you still go after him as a corporate organization to victimize him, to stop him from getting, contracts or anything? Is there anything like that as a pattern, or is there kind of a mutual agreement to depart, to part ways from each other?
No, for Brimo, I think the case was in court. We got to a point where we agreed and we settled. It was like, hey, this is where we are, this is where you are, we go. Like, we have an agency that handles a lot of events, and Brimo was one of the people that we have given more events after he left. So we don't. I feel like Nigeria is so talented. There's so many things to do than start going after one artist.
Exactly. And something happened just exactly a week ago that is already shaking your music industry. It is not related to you in any way, Mr. Ugwu, but then you should be concerned. I don't know how concerned are you with the death of 27-year-old Promise Ilerioluwa Oladimeji Aloba, popularly known as Mohbad. So, what is your take? He died suddenly, yes, but then accusing fingers are being pointed at members of his former record label. How do you feel? It's not related to you, but how do you feel? What's your take?
To be honest, let me start by saying it's sad that we're losing one of the greats, because just paying attention to him and seeing how he has grown, it's sad. I just feel like we shouldn't lose anyone by any circumstances. But at the same time, it's a case that is ongoing, so I really don't want to comment. I know his manager very well, SI. She's a friend. And I've seen, and just to say, she's one of the people that I feel like, for the street hop artists, she's one of the people that has really invested and have, like, this is not her first artist. She's worked with a few other bigger names than she's working with him now. I think it's a sad thing of what has happened. I just feel like we're still here watching to see what the outcome of the investigation is.
Exactly.
So they're investigating. Once they investigate it, then we'll comment. But I just feel like it's a great loss for Nigeria. It's a great loss for the general industry, because I feel like this is one of the greatest exports. It could have been one of the greatest exports. He has a great voice, have a distinct voice, have a huge career ahead of him. So I think it's a great loss. I think that's the best I can comment on that.
Oh, good.
Is
So if you recognize him as one of the greatest musical exports from Nigeria, so how do we manage record label artist relationship so that this kind of thing does not arise again? We don't need to lose another person. So as an expert, a top executive in the industry, how do you think this can be managed to avoid a reoccurrence?
I feel like dialogue is always the best thing. And let's have conversation, because I've seen a lot of people just come out and talk. A lot of people have been saying this, but I feel like the guy has been crying out for some time. Nobody has sort of really showed up to talk. Now everybody, but at the same time, it's like, how do we have the people in those authorities come and have conversation? I've seen a lot of conversation happening left and right. But it's like, how can we learn from this and create structures and create better healthcare system? How do we create systems to protect people in general? And then how do we, like, for example, you're a journalist. I'm sure like you have years of training to get to where you are.
Exactly.
But with this young artist, like 1 year you're here, next year you're here. So there's a lot of pressure that comes with it. There's a lot of things that they go through. I just feel like having the proper channel to develop them and have this conversation will help them and just go. I'm just talking in general to all the artists, because I've seen a lot of artists in my short time.
All right, Mr. Ugwu, since after the death of Mohbad last Tuesday, there have been a lot of talk on the social media, both founded and unfounded allegation on the social media. I can tell you that people saying a lot of things. One of the things I've heard in the last couple of days is that, well, for any artist to make it, he has to join a record label and also belong to a cult group. Is that a pattern in the industry? Is that what you do in the Chocolate City or not?
No, we don't do that. We're law-abiding label. We stand by the law. We follow that. And I feel like, but the first part to say you have to join the label is, think about, like, down to Davido is signed to a label, Bonner is signed to a label, Davido, Bonner, Whiskey is signed to a label. Because you have to understand that music have a lot of investment. You have artists, top artists, that to push them is like at least $4 million, $5 million a year. Nobody can cover that money, and some people have the money in Nigeria. But how many people can cover that money and invest on people? You get what I'm saying? Even the people that have the money, they're signed to label, because some international label have like 300 staff, 400 staff working. So imagine an artist that 400 people are working on his account versus you, that is only you and your manager. Who will go far? So at the end of the day, I feel like there's this huge place for labels to belong and work.
So yes, I know the label is a launching pad. One needs to have a launching pad to launch he or herself to fame. Now, if Chocolate City does not practice all those unwholesome things, are you aware, as an insider, as a player in the industry, that there are labels who also initiate their artists into cult group? Is it true or false?
To be honest, I've not seen any.
Have you heard of any before? Have you heard of any before?
I'm not in those conversations.
Mr. Ugwu, let me tell you, the allegations are so grave that some are even saying they get artists involved in gay practices and the rest of them if you really want to make it in the industry. How true is that? Are you hearing that for the first time from me, Mr. Ugwu?
I'm hearing that from you for the first time.
Those are the things I heard on social media in the last 2 days following the death of Mohbad.
That's crazy.
Very crazy.
Anybody that tells you that wrong.
But is it not high time you also do soul searching in the music industry?
I feel like, you see, the thing about the music industry that people have to understand is that Because music industry is one of those industry that is very shiny out there. So one thing happened, like we spend so much time talking about the bad that has happened without talking about everywhere you go in the world, they play Nigerian songs. They play Thames. They play Thames and Whiskey. Calm Down is one of the biggest songs in the world now, not even like Afrobeat in the world. You hear one of the songs we own, CK, Love One Thing, is one of the biggest songs in the world. You hear like those good things happen, we don't celebrate and say, hey, let's give them the flowers why they can have. But when, like, let's say, hey, let's have a Whiskey Day in Nigeria, let's honor whiskey. Let's have a Rema Day in Nigeria, let's honor Rema. Let's have all this. But we don't glorify those things. It's when the bad one happened, then we come and say, hey, this must be this. I know Nigeria sometimes we hate what we don't understand, we call it a mystery. So once there's a mystery, we don't understand it, we call it I don't know. Having said that, I do not know. I can neither confirm or not confirm that this happens. I am not involved in that. I don't support that. I'm a Christian, very much Christian. I do not support that. I do not support that.
All right. Are there other things you do as a record label to denigrate the dignity of your artist? Because just a few days ago, a female artist raised the alarm that the wife of the record label owner and also a popular rapper in Nigeria turned out to a house girl. I don't know if you have read that story. Turned out to a house girl. Is it you are laughing. So do you do this also? I don't know. Do you practice the what they do in the mechanic workshop, that an apprentice can go to the gas farm to go and do farming, to go and, wash plates, wash clothes? Do you denigrate the integrity and the no. dignity, human dignity of the artist in the industry?
No, we don't do that.
In the Chocolate City?
If it's the person no, we don't do that. We have an office. We have a proper...
So beyond Chocolate City, are you aware that these unwholesome practices are happening in the industry? And you have kept quiet?
I'm shocked.
You are shocked?
I'm shocked to hear what you just said.
Okay, I'm shocked that you are shocked, Mr. Abuchi. I am shocked that you are shocked because you are a top executive and an insider.
Because at the end of the day, it's like, let me ask you a question. This person you are talking about, can the person afford me? The person could afford the maid. He's one of the top people. If he's a top rapper, he's one of the top people. So I just don't think that is like some cases doesn't even make sense. Like when I hear them, I'm just like, okay, this person is the neighbor. This person has been the top. This person came and said, oh, you're the queen. He sold us you as the best, one of the best. What is it for him? What is he going to gain to make you? Like sometimes some things I just don't want to reply to give them to glorify what it is.
All right, Mr. Abuchi,
that's one. But I'm saying like that's the same person that look at how many people. And there's one part of the music business that let me address that. I feel like that's one of the things that give me joy and reason to be in this business is the fact that you can get an artist today. In 3 years, you change their whole story.
Yes, sure.
So then you move from grass to grace. And then look at, let's do this artist for the example you mentioned. Look at people he has worked with in the past 4 years or less than 6 years. They're saying people that their whole family, their whole generation has changed because that's the power of the music and the power of music business. And those are the things that that gives me the drive and I'm happy to come talk about.
All right, Mr. Abuchi, I can tell you for free that the ongoing probe or investigation about the circumstances surrounding the death of Mohbad, we actually shake a lot of things in your music industry at the end of the day. A lot of things will be exposed and the industry will no longer be the same, because I remember on the social media too, one of the allegations is that the record label being suspected to victimizing and subjected him to violence actually recruit young artists for drug peddling. I don't know if you are also hearing that from me for the first time, Mr. Abuchi.
You see, I'm shocked to be honest. I've been off social internet.
That the drug peddling. But at the end, we cannot judge. Like you said, investigation has started and it's a multi-level investigation. And we hope at the end of the day, the truth will be unveiled.
Yeah.
But then I want to believe
let's let the people doing the job
probably the music industry in Nigeria is left unregulated. That is why we are having all these challenges. Do you share that sentiment that you are unregulated, government is aloof to the plight of the music industry as part of the larger creative industry? That's why we are having the issues we are having now. And what do you think can be done?
You see, this is the part where, like, when people start going, now start disagreeing with people on that, is to say that, think about the music industry. This one industry that we do not get incentives.
Exactly.
When COVID happened, the entertainment industry is one of the ones that was hit the most. Because there was no shows, there was no live shows happening. So, because up until now that we now make money from streaming, before the major source of income is live. That happened, nobody was around, nobody showed up for the entertainment. Unless maybe you have heard they shared money for some people. But nobody is here. It's only when it comes to election time that politicians are looking for artists to use.
And they pay you for appearing at their campaign rallies.
That's all they do. Sometimes they make promises to you, they never keep their promise. But my point to you saying, like, I feel like we don't need to have this for a tragedy to happen for people to be invested in it. Let me give you some statistics. They say about 70, we're a young population. About 70% of Nigeria below the age of 35. So we're a young population. So what's the best way to speak to the younger population? Music is a powerful tool. Music is a weapon. I feel like it's high time that the government needs to be involved and say, okay, how do we create grants around this? How do you create structure around the music business to empower the musicians, to empower people coming? How do we do that? And I feel like people talk about mobile work. Like, you have to understand the effort it took him to drop a single. You have to understand the process when growing to be who he is. Like, this is happening. How we're talking about this Latin, and how we're talking about those street hop guys. What do they need? How can we empower them to make sure they have the proper resources to grow up a bigger business? That, because if you like it or not, those people get more access to your rooms,
so Mr.
your bedroom, because your children listen to them. And yeah,
because we're running out of time, we are almost dragging to the end of the interview. I just want you to specifically say within a few seconds what you need the government to do. Apart from giving you money, giving you lifeline, giving you support, regulation. Talking about regulation, the industry seems not to be regulated enough, and all manners of things are happening in the music industry. So what do you think the government can do to regulate the industry and restore some measure of sanity?
I think first thing first, they need to get involved.
Sure.
They need to start creating policies that protect.
We now have a new ministry, for creative economy, and music is part of creatives.
Yeah, the new minister have reached out.
Oh, good.
So hopefully that meet will happen soon. She's reached out, and I feel like they need to be involved. They need to look at what we're doing, look at how can they add value, look at how can the industry add value to Nigeria. So it's not a one-way thing. We don't want them to give us. Yeah. We want the platform so we can give. For example, look at the mileage Mohbad has created. That's the power of entertainment. That's the power of his brand. That's how powerful he is. So we can do the same for the country. So we just want them to come to the table. Let's have conversation. Let's have conversation. When they play your song on radio, let him get paid. At the end of the day, what are the policies that he put in place that his son's son can eat from the hard work of his father? So those structures, that's what we want to see, and systems, and make sure the government invests in them.
All right. Finally, Mr. Abuchi, shortly before we commence this program, a delegation of the Lagos State government led by the Deputy Governor, Dr. Obafemi Hamzat, actually paid a condolence visit on the family of Mohbad in Lagos. And they offered to help the family and also help his 5-month-old son, Liam. Now, at the industry level, there are things you also do for your members when they are no more, or you just move on as if nothing has happened?
So, for example, we're one of those labels that will give accounts. Every artist, we gave example from Brian Moore to Jeremiah Gang that was here like the first artist. We send them royalties every month, every quarter.
Oh, good.
We send them a report, even though if for anything that happens to an artist, if there's no more, he has a nest of claims.
Yeah.
Then that person gets royalty, gets report detail, gets everything in detail. So everything is clear.
In the regarding Mobad, I think one of the issues also being raised on the social media. I've seen a statement posted on a verified social media handles on Sunday that he was in court already with Malian record label to retrieve his son and some of his unpaid royalty. So as a industry, can you also help to step in to make sure that he get justice at the end of the day?
I feel like when something is in the courts, it's in the courts. So
it's your amount to sub judice. All right. Many thanks to you, Mr. Abuchi Peter Ugwu, Chief Executive Officer, Chocolate City Group, who joined me live from Lagos. I appreciate your time, Mr. Abuchi, for joining us this evening, and I hope to see you again.
No problem.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Abuchi Peter Ugwu is the Chief Executive Officer of Nigeria's foremost musical label, Chocolate City Group. He joined us live from Lagos, and that was about the size of today's show. My name remains Bode Gbadebo. It's bye from here.
The Big Issue. Breaking down the issues that matter.
Please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.